we're going to breeze through. I'm going to share with you some of the research for about 5 minutes, and then we're jumping into some activities. But we'll do an activity for this too. Anybody here have a regular gym practice? Raise your hand. Cody, come on up. Cody, Cody. Okay. So Cody, I'm going to put you to work, all right? Okay. So everybody, Cody, just do a 360 so everybody can check you out. Okay. So I'm going to give Cody 30 seconds to do push-ups. Okay? I want you to write down on your piece of paper how many push-ups he's going to do in 30 seconds. Go. And Cody, I want you to write down what you think you could do. Can you just come here? How many are you going to do in 30 seconds? Okay. Thank you. Can you, do you have a timer in there? You know how to use it?
No,
I'll do it.
I don't know.
It's all right. Who's that? This is too complicated.
Here.
Anybody have a stopwatch? Do you know how to use it? I will do it myself. Everybody has their number, right? Cody, down. Ready? Wait a minute.
I got it.
Clock. Stopwatch. Ready? This table, count them out. You ready? Everybody wrote them down? No cheating? Go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46,
Stop.
47.
Thank you, sir. He's not talking to me anymore. All right. Hey, Cody, stay up here, though, for a minute. Just face the wall. Bad boy. How many of you thought that Cody would do below 10? Raise your hand. You got to raise your hand. Below 15. 15 or less.
15 or less?
Yeah. Between 15 and 20, raise your hand. (21 to 25), raise your hand. 25, whatever, what did I say, 25? 26 to 30. 27 more, or no, 31 or more. 41 or 40 or more. 45 or more. 50 or more. 3,722. Okay, thank you. So I got too lazy to write all this down. But we had a range, Cody, just so you know, of people's belief in you. Some people thought you would do 15 or less. Do you want me to point those people out to you? And then there was some in the room who thought you did over 50. So we had a lot of variability. Okay? How many did Cody actually do?
47.
47.
What did Cody say?
Cody said 35. So what did we learn from this activity? You have 2 minutes at your table groups. Go. Thank you, Cody. Time. All right, what did we learn from this activity? What did this activity teach us about emotional intelligence? ¿Qué aprendimos?
We said that if we have had an experience with push-ups, we were more likely to accurately predict. The
Great.
less experience we've had with being successful at push-ups, the less accurate were our predictions.
Very interesting point. Other thoughts?
You probably gave him a lot of positive reinforcement, so it made him go further than he even thought he could.
So you
go.
pushed him with the counting, you mean, or something?
No, he thought he could do 35 to start, but he's in this room full of these educators that are very positive thinking people. So he wanted to impress us, so he went further than 35. He thought he could only do 35. He probably could did the 35 yesterday morning. But because today you put him in the spotlight, we give him attention, he went to 47.
That's a great study.
Así es.
Así es la vida. Other thoughts?
I think it was less about us and more about him. He set his own goal. He knew what his goal was. It didn't really matter.
But did he set a goal for 35 and he did 47. So he exceeded his goal.
Self-motivation. It's self-motivation.
Is it?
I think it's an internalized motivation when you set your goal for yourself.
There may have been some differences in the understanding of what a push-up is.
Ah, that's a nice one. So is there error in our judgments of Cody's skills? Is there error in Cody's even self-judgment? Yes. So when we look at the work on emotional intelligence, we think of it as an intelligence, not as a self-esteem issue, not as a belief system. I think I'm emotionally intelligent. My favorite, I was at a very prestigious school in Manhattan on the Upper East Side. And I came out of this presentation where I almost killed myself because this one teacher goes, I don't believe in role-playing. And I said, you're a third-grade teacher. But anyway, I have not been invited back. Now we're walking the street with the head mistress. And when I tell you, I'm not even going to, got to be careful about all the details I give you. I'm going to violate all these rules. Anyway, we're standing on the corner and one of the board members comes, this hedge fund guy with his Louis Vuitton pocketbook. And he comes up to me and I get in, this is Dr. Brackett, came and talked to about emotional intelligence, and he looks at me and he goes, I made my millions because of my emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm gonna miss my train. And so we don't believe in asking people about their emotional intelligence. It's the self-ratings. How could you ask someone how intelligent they are? It's an intelligence. It's a capacity to reason with about emotions. It's not a belief. You all, right, have judgments about Cody. Whatever they are, we're not going to discuss them today. Right? He's young, he's athletic, he's not athletic, he's what? Maybe he does push-ups, maybe he doesn't do push-ups, blah, blah, blah. Cody has his own knowledge. Maybe he hasn't done push-ups in 10 years. Maybe he does other kinds of exercise. But what we did learn from this activity, interestingly enough, is that almost everybody, including Cody, underestimated his ability. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? Now, where I come from, at Yale, something else happens. My students overestimate their abilities. I'd like you to take a look at the person next to you now. Please look at them. Look at them carefully. Really look at them. Look them up and down. Like you've never looked at another person before. Okay. Turn back to the front. Here's the question that you have to answer. How many of you believe that you are more emotionally intelligent than that person? Nobody raises their hand. When I do this on paper and pencil with students for experiments, 80% of my students say they're more emotionally intelligent than the person they looked at. If you know anything about like probability and statistics, 80% can be more intelligent than the other 80%. So when we measure emotional intelligence, we don't ask people how good they are at reading facial expressions. Because, honestly, how do you know? We don't ask knowledgeable informants either, because that's your reputation, right? What I've learned from looking at other reports of these kinds of mental abilities is that really is, I like him, I don't like her, she's sociable, outgoing. It measures more traits than it does emotional intelligence. So we think of it as ability to problem solve, to actually decode the face, to actually use effective strategies. So I just wanted to clarify that for you because it's pretty important. So, self-knowledge is very limited, particularly in this domain of emotional intelligence. Where have we received feedback? I know from my work in the martial arts, I've gotten a lot of feedback. Mark, this is not the way you block. You got to do that. When someone's grabbing you, you have to twist and push. And I've gotten thousands of hours. Push, breathe, breathe, breathe. Right? Block, block, block. No, not like that. Hit there, right there, a little piece right there. How much feedback have you gotten on your emotional intelligence? So, you get a yellow belt, a blue belt, a green belt, a red belt, a black belt. You go for music lessons. Right, you hit that note a little off. You go for vocal lessons. You go for sports lessons. Constant feedback from coaching. Where's your emotional intelligence coach in life? How skilled is that person in giving you the coaching? Which is why our approach is always about adult development before child development. We don't sell kits to develop emotional intelligence. It doesn't work. I tried that. I did. I tried that for 10 years. Failed every single time. Because people who were implementing didn't know how to implement it well. They didn't have their own awareness of their own emotional displays. They didn't have the strategies themselves. Right? Where are you? You in the red? Why are you in the red? Briefly, we've done, I don't know how many hundreds of studies at this point, for our own laboratory and other laboratories. When you measure these skills as skills, not as beliefs, this is what it predicts about adolescence. Less skilled, more skilled. How many of you want the students in your schools to look like the kids on the right? When we measure teachers, same thing. When we go into the corporate world, same thing. Over and over again, these skills predict important life outcomes. When we go into the classrooms and we move away from measuring the individual's emotional intelligence, like the teacher or the students, but bring in cameras like that's happening right here, and analyze the culture and climate of the classroom by coding the behaviors between teachers and students and among all the constituents in the classroom. What we find is that naive coders, when they measure that emotional climate, the quality of the facial expressions, the teacher's display of emotions, the agreement, the eye contact, the use of paying attention to the perspective of the child, the sensitivity to the child's needs, what we find is that those are the outcomes for students. Controlling for the age of the teacher, whether or not it's a rich school or a poor school, whether or not the teacher has a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, all competing control variables included in these models. These are big studies. These are studies of 60, 70 schools. So over and over again, what we find at the individual level from the student, to the adult level to the teacher, to the climate level, these skills make a difference. So our approach then is, since we don't get any feedback, we don't really know how skilled we are, right? That's the nurture piece, right? Informal learning. There's a lot of informal learning, right? You watch The Simpsons. You get a great informal learning about emotion regulation there, don't you? The Apprentice. Great strategies. You're fired. You also have your genetics, right? You have your personality, your temperament. All of us have a temperament, don't we? All of us have a certain way, a disposition. It's that place where you live on the mood meter, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. But since we can't change that, if you're over 30, pretty much, it's pretty much, we can change your behavior, we can change your skill set, but we can't change that where you live piece. I'm a worrier. I'm genetically predisposed to worry. I worry about why I worry, and I worry about why I worry about why I worry. I meta-worry. Therapy, 20 years as a psychologist, I'm a little different. So even though my automatic go-to place is that worry place, I'm more skilled now. I reckon, oh, Mark, are you worried or are you anxious? Or are you overwhelmed? Huh. Well, what's happening? What exactly is that feeling? How are you going to go into the meeting right now with your staff? You have a staff meeting. How are you going to express that feeling? So what's your strategy now, Mark? What's your regulation strategy? So while I'm not changing where I live, I'm able to change my behavior by building self-awareness and skills. Much of that comes from our background, doesn't it? My mother was a worrier, go figure. Right, my father was a bit angry, as you now know. So you've learned from that as well. But where is that formal education? Where is it? We need to provide it. So you could put any model there for all I care. Ours is called Ruler. Some are called Schmuler. Don't buy those ones. Is that you have to make sure everybody with a face is trained. It will not work if you decide to buy a kit and give it to a person to roll out. I would just tell you that. You'll get some, maybe a little bit, maybe in your one classroom there'll be a shift. And that would be fantastic. But we want to spread this across systems. If we're going to make change in our nation's education and give children the skills they need to succeed, we want to make sure we do it systemically. And that's why we have to have training for educators and staff, classroom level work, and training for family members. And our theoretical model asserts that when you enhance the emotional intelligence of each individual and simultaneously shift the climate and culture, what happens is great. Because the superintendent has the common language. You can walk into a little pre-K room and say, hey, where are you on the mood meters? I'm in the yellow, me too. There's a language that's shared. There's a set of expectations and strategies across the whole school. So by kindergartner, kids learn these strategies to regulate their emotions. By 6th grade, by 9th grade, by 12th grade. And then you get the outcomes that you're interested in across academic achievement and other things. So what we're going to do for the rest of our days, we're going to dive deeply into these skills and strategies. I've already shared with you the skills. Now we're going to work on the tools. In our work, we have 4 tools. We call them the charter, the mood meter, the meta moment, and the blueprint. And these took many years to figure out in terms of their order, in terms of who gets to learn them first. And what we learned over the course of 20 years is that it has to be adult development before child development. So I was very lucky in my life. When I was that bully teenager, there was one person who understood me, and he happened to be my uncle. His name is Marvin Moore. And he was a middle school teacher, and he got me. He was a misfit too. And the challenge for me was that I had 2 older brothers, one who had a physical disease, one who had a mental disease. And so my family was really focused on healing them. So they weren't really available. Luckily, my uncle was. And when Marvin and I, when I was in my 20s, said, what am I going to do with my life? I wasn't as focused as I am now on changing the world in terms of, our nation's education system taking emotional intelligence seriously. But I remembered vividly visiting my uncle in the summers in his town in upstate New York and seeing all this work he was doing with his students on facial expressions and mobiles in the room about strategies to regulate. And I said, Marv, I think he was retired now. He was in his late 60s. I think what you were doing in the 60s and 70s is like a hot topic. I think we can do something with this. With my knowledge of psychology and your educational experiences, let's marry these ideas. So it was a 23-year-old know-it-all working with a 68-year-old know-it-all. And it was a nightmare. Because I was a psychologist, I knew everything about psychology. That's not scientific. There's no research to support that idea. And he's like, I don't give a shit about the research. I'm telling you what happens in the classroom. This is the way it works, Mark. I live in the real world. And we worked this out over many, many years. And we wrote a book together called Emotional Literacy in the Middle School, which please do not buy it because it's 20 years out of date. And we tried desperately. I became the Willy Loman of emotional intelligence. I was. I would beg teachers. I would beg principals. I was lucky enough that I had a martial arts studio. And one of the kids in my school, my martial arts studio's mother, was a principal. So I begged her. I said, Fran, free. Anything, just give us the opportunity to try this out. And we brought it there. And we had a tiny bit of a success, like 2 hours. 2 hours of success. People liked the idea, and then they went to implement it, and they said, well, we're not going to talk about alienation. We're not going to talk about addiction or anxiety or depression. We're going to do joy, jolly, cheerful, committed, loyalty. I said, wait, that's all the right side of the mood meter. What about this side? What about all these other feelings that we need kids to understand? Well, I'm not comfortable doing that. I'm not going there. This is going to open up Pandora's box. This is going to open up this. All the negative things. So we're like, what do we do here? And this happened over and over and over and over again. So I said, well, we got to get these teachers to raise their emotional skills and their awareness and the importance and the value of this in their lives. And when we do that, great things might happen. So we went back to the drawing board. I did research. I got every collaborator who I could think of who knew about teacher education and teacher development, and we all worked together and we built these teacher development stuff. Years it took. More success happened. But then we'd be in schools, and the principal would be like this. Or they'd be like this. Well, I'm like, and then feelings and... And I was like, wow, there's a missing piece here. The leaders, they don't care about this stuff. They just care about test scores. What are we going to do to make the superintendent and the principals and the directors take this work seriously? So we went back to the drawing board and got everybody who knew education, leadership, emotion, social and emotional learning, get together. Learned everything we could. How do we develop the leaders? And then finally we had some success because we developed everybody with a face. And we said, when you do this training for your faculty, it's not just for the teachers, the elite ones. What about the custodial staff? What about the people who work at the front desk? What about the bus drivers? What about the cafeteria workers? What about everybody? I remember going to a school in Philadelphia, and I was greeted by the person at the front desk. What are you doing here? It was like the middle of the afternoon. And I said, I'm here to see the head of your school, blank blank. Wait over there. Wait over there? All right, fine. So I'm going to wait over there, and the head of the school comes in and goes, he heard the conversation. I looked at him like, and he says, Mark, she really needs your training, right? And I said, blank blank, you decided to hire this person. So, we have to think about the skills that we want in our environment. Are we selecting people that are naturally going towards this? Because attitude makes a big difference. Right? Your attitude about SEL matters. So, with that in mind, we have 4 tools. The charter helps us to build the climate. The mood meter is self-awareness. The meta moment, self-regulation. And the blueprint is for problem-solving, perspective-taking, and building empathy. We talked about the mood meter earlier today. Pleasantness, energy. Pleasantness, energy. Pleasantness is your subjective private experience. Energy is how much physical energy. As you get more interested in this work, you're going to have to start understanding the facial expressions, the body language, the vocal tones, and the physiology associated with each of these areas. That's what's going to help you become emotionally intelligent. What's the difference between a 5-5 face and a 4-4 face? Ecstatic versus elated. What's the difference between down, disappointed, devastated, hopeless, despair, depressed? How does the physiology change? How does the expression of the face change? How does the body change? But this is about you, I believe, this workshop, this training. So at your table groups, what I'd like you to do is draw 2 mood meters on a piece of paper that look like this. Don't worry about the colors, but worry about the box. 2 2x2 tables. And one of them is going to say work and one of them is going to say home. And I'm going to ask you to dive deep into your emotional life. This is your emotional life. You can only spend 100% of your time, right? You don't have 120%. You got 100%. So if you're evenly distributed, you would be spending 25% in each of the quadrants. I'm pretty much at work all over the place. 25% yellow, 25% green, 20% blue, 20% red. Maybe you spend 70% in the yellow, or 5% in the yellow. So we're going to do a little reflection now throughout your entire day. And then you're going to come back and think about what is the percentage in each of these quadrants. Where do you live at home and where do you live at work? So for me, right now in my life, at work, I'm more in the red than I've ever been. It's not an angry red, it's an overwhelmed red. I'm building a center, I'm hiring a lot of new staff, challenges with scaling, directors of different departments, constantly in that worry place. I'm not in the blue that much, except in the evenings. I'm really at home, I'm in the blue a lot, which is not fair to my family, because I'm drained when I get home. Want to go out for dinner? No. I'd rather, can't we eat home tonight? I'm just not in the mood. If I talk to somebody else, I'm going to shoot myself. I'm also in the green a lot. You know, I'm not like, you know, I'm able to, you know, do my coffee shop thing. No yellow, though. Very little yellow. I just don't have the time to be in the yellow. You know, I fantasize about it. And I even went to CrossFit. Ever know CrossFit? See you wearing, right? I think somebody's wearing it, right? I said, you know, I'm going to put myself in the yellow. I'm going to work out with the dudes. And I remember I was jogging with the, yeah, man, right? And I was like, okay, I'm going back to yoga. This doesn't work for me. Like, I try to be in the yellow, but, you know, it's like I'm not that like, yeah. It just doesn't work. I'm in blue more than often because I'm critical. I'm a scientist. I have to find fault with my own work. I have to review other people's work and write reviews of it and say, this is what you should have done. Then I go home and I say, you know, couldn't we have had like less salt tonight? I thought we were going to have something different tonight. So I'd like you to think about now, your day. Everyone sit up straight in your seats. Close your eyes. Take a nice long inhale. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. And the alarm has gone off. How do you feel? How do you feel when you wake up in the morning? You get up. You do your morning routine with someone or by yourself. You have children or you don't have children. You have a morning routine. Now you're commuting. What's it like for you in the commute? Or maybe you don't commute, maybe you work from home. You walk into your school, look around. What do you see? Do you see lots of yellow faces? Blue faces? Green, blue? What color is your school? You walk into your classroom. What does it look like there? You teach, you're in the hallways. You teach, you go to the faculty room. What does it look like in the faculty room? What are the feelings that are being discussed in that environment? You go back to your classroom, you go back into another meeting. How do you feel? It's time to leave work. You walk out the door. Do you leave that school in the yellow? Inspired, excited? Or do you leave in the green, feeling serene and calm? Or do you leave in the blue, down, burnt? Or do you leave in the red, feeling overwhelmed, stressed, and irritated? You go home. What's it look like for you there? Do you enjoy having dinner, or is it a pain in the ass? Do you watch TV at home? Do you work in the evening? Are you grading papers or are you watching TV? Are you hanging out with your kids? Are you reading books? Are you listening to classical music? You're now in bed. How do you feel? You put your head on that pillow. What is your mind like in that moment? Are you looking forward to the next day? Are you dreading it? How do you feel? Please take about 2 minutes or 3 minutes on your table groups, on your own private experience, and see if you can figure out what is the percentage that you spend at home and at work in these quadrants. Go ahead. If you can identify the things, the people, the places, the events, the actions, the behaviors, even better. Why did you choose that percentage for that quadrant? What is it? How is this impacting your performance? How is it impacting your relationships? So in about 30 seconds, I'm going to ask you to stand up with your mood meter, little chart, and find someone in the room that you don't know that well. Someone you haven't really spoken to in the last few days, and just stand with your back to that person, back to back. And I'm going to give you a minute to do that. Please rise. If we end up with an odd man out, just let me know. Or odd lady out. Back straight, please. Take a nice long inhale. Exhale. Think for a moment. What did you learn about yourself as a result of this exercise? What did you learn? Was there an aha moment? Is there an area that you want to have more of? Do you want to sort of increase that percentage of the yellow? Do you want more green? Is there a huge discrepancy between home and work? Take 2 minutes each and share whatever came up for you that you're comfortable sharing. Make sure you give each other that 2 minutes. Go ahead.
What?
Everyone, if you've been doing the talking, it's time to do the listening. 2 more minutes. So, for some of you, this brings up things, right? Stuff, some baggage. And your goal is to figure out what are the strategies that you need to bring into your life. What are the strategies? What do you need to experience less blue and red if that's your goal? What do you need to do more green and yellow? And recall what we said earlier, me and my other personality, is you have your cognitive strategies and you have your behavioral strategies. The cognitive ones tend to help you in the moment. Like, I've been triggered before. I'm triggered all the time, aren't we all? Right? Someone says something that like irritates you. Like, I've had people at conferences for that. Yes? A lot of us would disagree with this model. A lot of us, like you and your 30 personalities? You know, that's what I want to say. That's my, you know, like my New Jersey roots. You know, you want to fight? I'll go for the jugular. But I'm the feelings master. You know, the feelings master doesn't go there. I run in a center on emotional intelligence. I can't do that. It's my reputation. It's shot. So I've got to reframe in that moment, right? I've got to use that strategy. I can't be like, Well, that's an interesting question. Oh, you know, I got to do some yoga. That really just stressed me out. You know. Oh, okay. Can't do that in the moment, can you? You've got to have that capacity to problem solve and regulate in your mind. You can't always leave the situation. But then you got stuff to do you can do after work, right? Then you can do your problem solving. Then you can reflect. Then you could go to yoga. Then you can go running. Then you can go do your painting or reading your books or cooking or whatever else brings you joy. So the question is, you know, what is your capacity to do that immediate self-regulation? And what is your coping strategy to get you through life? We can't do everything today, I apologize. Now, we've learned a lot today about recognizing emotion, this activity, trying to put that understanding piece to it. Where does it come from? Why am I in the blue all the time? Why am I in the yellow-red? And what we're going to wrap up with today, I bought my 15 minutes back, so we're ending at 4:45, is the labeling emotion. So we're going to go around the room very quickly and you're going to count out 1, 2, 3, 4. Just go very quickly.
1, 2, 3,
4.
1, 2.
Okay. Outside, there are 4 large pieces of paper. If you are a 1, go to the yellow group outside. Make a line. One person needs a marker from your table group. Bring that marker with you. If you are a 2, go to the 2. If you're a 3, go to the 3. If you're a 4, go to the 4. You have 30 seconds to get out there and get in your line. You have 2 minutes in your groups to come up with as many words as you can for your quadrant. You are building your emotional intelligent mood meter. You are building the language for your quadrant right now. Ready? Go! No, you gotta pass the word. Pass the baton. Pass the baton. Everybody gets a chance. One line. One line.
Can we repeat?
No.
I had another one.
No, you have to get in line. Yeah, you can repeat the line, of course. Keep going.
So have a few in your arsenal, you know?
Yes.
Take it up.
That's a good strategy. Come on.
I got it. She doesn't take it.
Yes, circle. Another cheating here.
You have one here.
10 seconds.
Keep going.
5. 4. 3. 2. Time. Please pull your meat meters off carefully and bring them in.
What?
Pull them off the wall and bring them in.
The paper off the wall.
Now, why are you laughing? Some of the words? the WTF? That one's definitely in the English language dictionary. Who is on the red team? Anthony, come on up. Anthony, I'd like you to read the words out.
Okay.
But go back there. You can go back there. So angry right now, I could rip this whole thing out. See, I can't even take it anymore. Read them so everybody can see. I'm going to hold them over here, and now you're going to read them out, but I need you to evoke the red in this room, man. Evoke it.
Anger, annoyed, mad,
stressed, frustrated, crikey, aggressive, dictatorial, pissed off, anxious, miserable, fear, jealous, crap, compulsive, enraged, loud, territorial, impulsive. What the fuck? Fired up! Bitchy. Insulting. Crabby. Confused.
All right, thank you. How do you feel inside now? You look like you're like, huh? Crummy. You're like, well, it's going to get worse. I need my blue team member. Who's willing to come up and share? Would you be willing to do it? Your goal is to make this room bluer than, but not like ocean blue. This is like the blue that people just don't want. They want to drown in. And I want to, no, that face does not look blue. People, I need the room to be in the blue.
Drained, crummy, blasé, depressed, sad, hopeless, analytical, blue, sleepy, despair, womp womp, dysphoric, lame, intellectual, scared, crabby, down, suicidal, slow, lonely, stuck, bleak, demoralized, logical, in a funk, apathetic, useless, bummed, Eeyore, tired, fed up, miserable. I think the rest are repeats.
How do you feel right now? Anybody want to go for a drink? Someone who can bring us into the green, please. Who can bring us into the green? Can you bring us into green? Bring us into the green.
Contemplative, calm, content, comfortable, peaceful, chill,
A little louder.
relaxed, quiet, zen, still, soothed, satisfied, tranquil, happy, low-key, quiet, blissful, meditative, balanced, mellow, amiable, placid, cool, amused, light, serene, flow, mindful, reflective, cheerful, gentle, floaty.
Thank you. Feeling a little better?
Yes.
All right, where's my yellow? I need someone who could really, can you bring us into the yellow? Are you sure? I need like major yellow here. Let's go. We're going into the yellow, baby. Let's go, come on.
Loved, giggly, zesty, zany, joyful, elated, ecstatic, psyched, energetic, enthusiastic, excitement, content, stoked, exuberant, grateful, copacetic, zippity-doo-dah, amazing, zoned, exhilarated, yeehaw, beaming,
Come on,
zeal,
come on, higher
cheerful,
energy.
fast, joyful, elated, chipper, olive, alive, yellow, and whoopee. And then we get it all.
All right, good. Take 30 seconds at your table group. What did this exercise teach us about the labeling of emotion? Go. So what are some things that came up for you from this activity about the language of emotion? This group. One thing.
Oh, as a language teacher, I was curious that the different attributes had something to do with the sounds. I mean, it was almost like the sounds of the words were onomatopoeic.
Yes, right. You don't say, I'm angry. Doesn't, right? You feel the word kind of become, right? When you're angry. What else came up?
We were just saying, as a group, culturally, there's definitely red can be positive. Like you said, we cannot be in yellow all the time, so red has its place. It's interesting, not many of the red words were like powerful or passionate
or...
Because we put a lens of like a positive thing, like, oh, it's good to be, so it's interesting to see how our biases play into that.
Yeah, nice point. Other people, anything come up?
They affect how you feel.
Exactly. Saying the word evokes the feeling. It's a really important point.
Hearing Eeyore can be more expressive and indicative than hearing depression.
Yeah, interesting. What were you going to say?
I noticed that, this for me personally, I noticed my major box where I would go most of the time, it would be different maybe than the majority of students I teach.
Uh-huh.
So like, I think my students are yellow a lot, and I would probably be more of a green.
Uh-huh.
So that was interesting for me just to notice it. It might vary from the time of day as well.
Yeah, it's a really important insight. Because maybe sometimes you need to boost the yellow, right, to keep up or to be more motivational. And sometimes you got to bring them to your green so that you can connect more, maybe do some more deeper processing. So my time is up with all of you, but I am going to steal a few more minutes, whether they like it or not. Am I right? And I want to share with you two things to end. One is I've had the privilege to work with actually a school where Anne's children go. And it's a school called Prospect Sierra here in Berkeley.
Yeah, Ruth's child just enrolled.
Well, you'll get to see what it looks like there. So the positives that I've had a great time coming to Berkeley and El Cerrito to train the teachers and the leaders of that school. The other positive thing is I met a fantastic teacher and stole her, and now she works in our center. But this is the kids in that school talking about the one piece, that emotional intelligence charter.
I think the charter is important because without the charter, we can't remind ourselves to be engaged, respected, and comfortable. And then we won't be able to treat other people that way. I think it's great to have a charter because then the words create the best possible learning environment we can have. You can't really disagree with it because we made it up.
We developed the charter by taking it to the kids and saying, how do you want to feel in this classroom? What are the feelings that you would like to feel every day as you come to learn?
We did start off by saying, rather than doing rules, we want to talk about how we want to feel in the classroom. And Kelly actually made a point of saying, we as teachers did this. Just so you know, we've already done this.
And then we asked them to, as a table group, share what each of those feelings were and come to a consensus about 5 words for their table.
It's a very interesting discussion about the combination of words like serene, comfortable, peaceful. We had one boy who is very reticent, and he defended peaceful. I mean, he really wanted peaceful.
And they voted and they said that comfortable was the word that most fit what they wanted to feel.
We, the 4th graders of 4KL, will work together to create a learning environment where every student feels confident, engaged, respected, safe, and comfortable.
The second step in creating our class charter was talking about, okay, if these are the feelings that we as a class want to feel every day, as teachers, as students, as a community, then what are the behaviors that we would see that would help us feel these things? And so we brainstormed, what would it look like to see somebody engaged in the classroom?
We feel confident, engaged, respected, safe, and comfortable when we participate in all aspects of the class, react kindly and support each other when we make mistakes, share our thoughts and feelings appropriately, and keep our confidence.
What does it mean to you to be safe in the classroom, or to feel respected in the classroom, or to be engaged? What does that actually mean? What does it look like to you?
That people are supporting your ideas.
And how do they do that? What happens?
They nod their head.
I wouldn't feel safe or comfortable if somebody was gossiping about me or saying something that wasn't true. I wouldn't feel comfortable.
I want to feel confident to try to answer a math problem, but without, and if I do mess up, without people laughing at me.
The third step in creating the charter was how we as a class were going to respond when students weren't feeling this way.
One of the students came up with, said, well, there should be an apology if there's a problem. And somebody else said, it's got to be a genuine apology. You know? So it was very, I mean, from my perspective, it was absolutely, I was in awe that these kids had all that thinking and reflection in them, and this allowed that to come out.
When we do not feel confident, engaged, respected, safe, and comfortable, we will help each other with kindly reminders, be empathetic, and put ourselves in the other person's shoes. Talk it out clearly and directly using I statements. Offer authentic, meaningful apologies. Forgive each other. Get help from a teacher when needed.
I was surprised by, first how seriously they took the whole process. They were very excited to be asked these questions. How do you want to feel? If we were trying to craft the best year that we could, how do you want to feel at the end of this year? How do you want to feel every day as you come into the classroom?
We had very little to say in the conversation, which was exactly what we wanted. We just let it go, and they all came up with that. And there were no arguments. There were discussions, but there were no arguments. So I guess I was just surprised at the level of how much the idea intrigued them and how much they went for it and owned it in a way that I guess I didn't expect.
Respected meant a lot to me because if I don't feel respected, I don't think I will feel really any of the other feelings at all. Because then I wouldn't feel safe and I wouldn't feel comfortable and I definitely wouldn't feel confident. So that word definitely, I think, means the most.
In everything we do, we will strive to treat everyone the way we ourselves would want to be treated. Thank you.
You too.
So it's a little different than rules, isn't it?
Yeah.
It has a different flavor. Instead of saying no running, no spitting, keep your hands to yourself, it comes at creating a climate from a different place where emotions matter, where the emotions are driving the behaviors, where we say we want to feel connected or supported or inspired or empowered. And then we have to think about, well, what does it mean? What does it look like in terms of the way I communicate with you? What does it look like in terms of the way we communicate as a classroom? So that's the first step in our work of creating a healthy emotional climate, that we move away from rules and start building an emotional climate. And at that point, we start getting into this heavy-duty vocabulary building through the mood meter, right? Learning the words. What we did today was we just plotted the words very quickly. We didn't actually learn where do they go on the mood meter. What are the words that are the 5-5 words? What are the 4-4? What are the 3-3? What are the 2-2? So we didn't get a chance to really dissect the words and start thinking about where do they go on the mood meter. Why would that be helpful? Why would that be an important exercise for kids and for adults?
Well, I mean, we were talking earlier that some words, some labels, people have different meanings tied to, so you gotta come up with a common definition if you're gonna use the labels. Exactly.
We need to have agreed upon ways of understanding what these words mean. A lot of people say, well, excited for me means this. Well, we can't have that. We've got to take all the emotion words and say, okay, excited. Is it a lot of pleasantness or a little bit of pleasantness? Is it a lot of energy or a little bit of energy? What's the difference between being excited and being ecstatic? What's the difference between being down and disappointed? What's the difference between being annoyed and being peeved? And when we can build that language, what we can do is plot ourselves more accurately, have greater self-understanding. We start thinking about the causes of these feelings and the consequences of these feeling states, how we express them, as we saw just from reading the words. And then we can move on to, okay, I'm in this one quadrant. This is not the best place for me right now. And that's, what I wanted to share with you right here. That these quadrants have different purposes. So that little exercise right there, that little diagram on the left says, the culture and climate of your schools should be yellow and green. When I walk around, I want to see positive facial expressions. I want to walk in and be greeted like someone. I knew for me, I was at a school recently on Long Island in New York, and I walked in and there's a hall monitor. And she said to me, she didn't know who I was, and she said, "Good morning, sir. Who are you here to visit?" I said, "Well, I'm here to visit your superintendent, Dr. Brown." And she goes, "Well, before anybody comes into our building, they have to tell us how they feel. Can I introduce you to the mood meter?" And I said, "Definitely." And she said, "Where are you? Let me explain. The yellow means this, and green means this, and blue means this." And I said, "I'm in the yellow. This is like really awesome." So that's when you know something is real and alive, when everybody is using it. So that's the yellow and green in terms of the culture and climate. Your instruction, however, has to vary. You've got to play around with the feelings. You've got to get some red in there when you're doing persuasive writing. You've got to debate. This is a debate, man. I want to be red. I'm going to fight up here. Be determined. You're proofing and editing, or even want to demonstrating empathy, you've got to get into the blue. You want to do some brainstorming? It's yellow. That's when you're going to generate the ideas. You can't pick the idea you're going to run with, though, in the yellow. It's too all over the place. You've got to get to the green, maybe. Build consensus. Okay, we've had all these ideas. Now let's come together and really think about which one are we going to run with. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes. Can you please tell me what the words in the yellow are?
The yellow says creative writing, brainstorming. It's a flexible mindset. So in schools, it looks like this, where we build the facial expression walls, we build the vocabulary walls, we build strategies for each quadrant. We integrate it into the curriculum through language arts by having a character like in The Boy in the Striped Pajamas schmools emotions throughout the story and providing the evidence from the text so that you make the direct connection between emotional intelligence and the Common Core. Communication, language, providing text-based evidence. You can use this in terms of monitoring your own feelings throughout the day so you're finding the hot spots and the blue spots. Obviously, it's everywhere. That's a leader who has quotes from different leaders talking about the value and importance of all emotions. In classrooms where there are children with multiple handicaps, well, they can't speak, so they can drag their picture into the mood meter quadrants. Using iPads, using other games. It's endless. The Wheel of Emotions, the art mood meter, and even in preschool. Everybody please stand. I'd like to make a big circle to wrap up today. One big circle around the room, please. So, this was just the beginning of what I hope will be the journey that you will take on becoming more emotionally intelligent. And today we focused on just one of the tools, that mood meter. Really thinking about what does it mean in terms of where do I live on the mood meter? What are the words? How do I express? What brings me to these different quadrants? We briefly touched upon the strategies, right? We didn't get there very deeply yet. That's a lot of work. Is how do you regulate? How do you shift and bring people to different quadrants? But nevertheless, we had an opening act to emotional intelligence. It's now July 1st of 2014, a year from now. You've made a concerted effort to take this institute seriously, to take the work, at least that I presented today, and maybe others, of course, too, seriously. Thinking about how your emotions are driving your attention, your memory learning, your decisions, the relationships that you have, your behavior, your relationships, your own mental and physical health. So you've done that for a year. What's different? What is different about you personally or professionally in a year from now as a result of really recognizing that emotions matter? So those are pretty great things. What I'd like to say is this is a wonderful experience for me. I'm delighted to meet all of you. Hope this is just the beginning of the conversation. We're just an email away. We have a very good connection with the Greater Good Science Center. Look around the room, please. These are your new friends, your new colleagues, your new peers. Maybe you'll seek out an emotional intelligence buddy or partner to help you think about your growth over the year. And again, I will end by saying I am an academic who lives in the real world. I spent 20 years of my life really thinking about what is it that we need to do to make schools places where kids feel safe and valued and empowered, where teachers feel connected and engaged, where leaders are kinder and more caring. And we're not there yet. We're still figuring it out. We're a lab and a center that really takes seriously what it means to transform a classroom, a school, a community. And while I can't make audacious claims, I can only share with you what the data show thus far, and it really is quite promising that if we give children and adults the skills they need to succeed, life is just different. And on that note, I want to say thank you very much. Good job. Thank you.